family and law enforcement to get Nancy home. But there were 4 things that stuck out to the former agent who spoke to me after he watched Savannah's message.
What's going on currently in this investigation? We talked about the family taking over the property, and
a lot of the media, everything obviously going on in the Middle East, but a lot of the media is left. What happens now? Where do you think things go?
There's one man who was there that night. One man who drove Nancy Guthrie home. One man who watched her walk through the front door. One man who said, with complete confidence, that she was safely inside before he left. That man is Tommaso Cioni, Nancy's son-in-law, and in the weeks that followed her disappearance, his home was searched twice. His car was impounded and taken apart piece by piece. His legal documents were pulled and examined. His name appeared in thousands of online discussions, news reports, and tip lines. He was the last person to see Nancy Guthrie, and he has never been charged with anything. So either Tommaso Cioni is a completely innocent man who has been destroyed by suspicion, or he is the most important piece of a puzzle that law enforcement has not yet been able to solve. And here's where the story twists. Because the FBI did not just investigate a kidnapping, they investigated something far more uncomfortable. Something that powerful people with expensive lawyers tried very hard to keep quiet. What if the most terrifying part of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance wasn't her kidnapping, but the fact that it never actually happened? That is the question at the center of this case. Not who took her, but whether anyone took her at all. And if the kidnapping was staged, then Tommaso Cioni is not just the last person who saw Nancy. He may be the first person who knew exactly what was coming. Everything you are about to hear is documented. It is real. And by the end, you will have to decide, innocent bystander, or the puppet master who has been standing in plain sight the entire time. January 31st, 2026. Tucson, Arizona. The Catalina foothills, one of the most expensive and quiet neighborhoods in the state. Nancy Guthrie, 84 years old, spent the evening having dinner with her daughter Annie and Annie's husband Tommaso Cioni. A normal family dinner. Comfortable. Relaxed. Nothing unusual. At around 9:30 p.m., Tommaso drove Nancy home. He walked her to the door. According to Sheriff Chris Nanos, Tommaso made sure Nancy was safely inside her home before he left. The door closed. The lights came on. Tommaso drove away. That was the last confirmed sighting of Nancy Guthrie. At 2:12 a.m., her life tracking app went completely silent. No location, no heartbeat, no movement data, just a blank screen where her information used to be. Nobody noticed until the next morning, when Nancy failed to appear at her regular Sunday church service. Her family called the police at 11 a.m., and when investigators arrived at the mansion, what they found made them immediately call the FBI. The security footage showed a masked figure approaching the front door in the middle of the night. Dressed in black, gloves on both hands, armed, a gun visible at the waist, placed awkwardly in a holster, carrying a 25-liter Black Ozark Trail backpack. But watch how he moves. He does not run. He does not crouch. He does not look over his shoulder like a man who is afraid of being caught. He walks slowly, calmly, directly toward the entrance, like a man who has been to this house before. Like a man who knows exactly where the cameras are. He even tried to tamper with the video doorbell, tapping at it lightly, then covering the lens with a leaf from a nearby plant. He knew the camera was there. He had a plan for it. Professional kidnappers move with urgency. This man moved with comfort. Then came the ransom. 2 notes, sent to TMZ and multiple Arizona news stations, demanding $6 million in Bitcoin. Untraceable. Anonymous. The family agreed to pay. They asked only for proof that Nancy was alive and safe. No proof ever came. And the $6 million wallet sat completely untouched for weeks. Not a single transaction. Not 1 cent moved. A real kidnapper needs money. This kidnapper needed attention. There's a very important difference between those two things. Now here's where this case becomes something different. Something that no amount of media management could fully contain. Nancy Guthrie wore a medical monitoring device on her wrist. It was designed for elderly individuals living alone. Every 90 seconds, it pinged a remote server with her GPS location, her heart rate, her step count, and her body temperature. The app showed nothing after 2:12 a.m., but the server, the raw backend data that most people never see, kept receiving signals. At 2:31 a.m., 19 minutes after the app went dark, the device recorded 47 steps. The GPS coordinates placed those steps inside the east wing of the mansion. At 3:04 a.m., her heart rate spiked suddenly to 112 beats per minute, then slowly came back down. At 4:18 a.m., the GPS placed the device within 30 feet of the master bedroom. Nancy Guthrie's own body data showed she never left that house. So how did the app go silent at exactly 2:12 a.m.? The access log told the story. Someone with administrator access to Nancy's account manually switched off the visibility settings. The login came from a device connected to the mansion's own Wi-Fi network. Someone inside that house, at 2:12 a.m., picked up a device, logged into Nancy's medical account, and turned off the tracking. Then waited. And then there was the physical evidence. Bloodstains were found on the front porch, confirmed by the sheriff's department to be Nancy's blood. But a former FBI agent who reviewed the case noted something strange. The blood pattern suggested Nancy did not walk out through that door under normal circumstances. The blood told a story of its own. The intruder's backpack was recovered near the side exit. Empty, unzipped, abandoned. Forensics examined it for fingerprints and found almost nothing. For a bag that was supposedly carried through an active kidnapping scene, it was forensically clean in a way that felt deliberate. You do not accidentally leave no fingerprints. That takes planning. That takes gloves. That takes someone who knew forensics would be looking. And then the DNA results came back. 2 separate profiles were found in the blood sample from the porch. One unidentified, one a partial familial match, meaning it shared significant genetic material with someone already in law enforcement's database. Someone connected, by blood, to a person in the system. Someone from within Nancy Guthrie's own circle. That result was buried in a case file for months. When a journalist finally obtained the documents, the FBI's response was 2 words: no comment. It has never been officially explained. Not once. So let us talk about Tommaso Cioni. He is 50 years old. Italian-born. He has lived in Arizona for years and works as a 6th grade science teacher at Basis Oro Valley School in Tucson, a job he has held for over 15 years. He and Annie Guthrie have 1 son. Their home is exactly a 10-minute drive from Nancy's mansion. He was the last confirmed person to see Nancy Guthrie alive. Journalist Ashley Banfield was the first to name him publicly as a person of interest. The sheriff pushed back immediately, saying no one had been officially named, and that accusing Cioni without evidence was dangerous. But the investigation kept returning to his door. 2 separate searches of his home. His blue Honda CRV impounded, held at a mechanic shop for weeks, taken apart and examined before investigators were satisfied. Neighbors interviewed repeatedly about Annie and Tommaso's behavior, their routines, their relationship with Nancy, and then the power of attorney document surfaced. Records showed that shortly after Nancy's disappearance, Tommaso had transferred power of attorney to his wife Annie. Legal analysts noted the timing. Some called it a routine real estate move. Others called it something that demanded a clear explanation, which was never given. When the last person to see a missing woman quietly transfers legal power to his wife in the days after she vanishes, you do not get to call that a coincidence without explaining it first. Inside the family, there were already cracks that existed long before January 31st. Annie Guthrie, the most publicly vocal family member during the search, had reportedly been in quiet conflict with others close to Nancy for years. Tensions over money, over estate decisions, over access to Nancy herself. These were private disputes, the kind families bury, until a message leaked from inside the household. A text exchange between 2 people connected to the property, sent at 1:47 a.m. on the night of January 31st, exactly 25 minutes before the masked figure appeared on the security camera. Make it urgent. 3 words. 1:47 a.m. 25 minutes before everything began. Those words were never entered into evidence. The source was never identified. Neither person in that conversation was ever publicly named or charged. And then came the whistleblower, a former household employee who still had a key to the mansion. On day 4 of the search, this person entered the property to collect personal belongings. They saw movement on the 2nd floor. They recognized the figure immediately. It was Nancy Guthrie, inside the house, alive, moving freely, while the entire country believed she had been kidnapped. The employee gave a sworn statement to an attorney. The FBI was contacted directly. 3 weeks later, the witness recanted. The attorney stated they had been strongly discouraged from continuing. The witness disappeared from public record entirely. The people who got closest to the truth in this case went the most quiet, every single time. Now step back. Look at the full picture. An 84-year-old woman disappears from a secured mansion. A masked intruder is caught on camera, but walks like he belongs there. A $6 million ransom is demanded, but never claimed. A medical device shows the victim moving inside the house hours after she was supposedly taken. A DNA match from the crime scene is buried for months. A whistleblower recants under pressure. And a power of attorney transfer happens quietly in the background while cameras are pointed at grieving family members. Within 48 hours of the disappearance, a PR firm was managing all media communications. Every statement filtered. Every press appearance controlled. A $1 million reward announced. Donation campaigns running. Over 13,000 FBI tips collected. This was not just a family in crisis. This was a production. With timing. With messaging. With a very specific story being told to a very large audience. When a family hires a PR firm before they hire a private investigator, something is being managed. And the question is what? Tommaso Cioni has never been charged. The sheriff cleared all immediate family members publicly. And yet his car was taken apart. His home was searched twice. His legal documents were examined. And his name remains attached to this case in every serious discussion about what really happened. Is he a grieving son-in-law who has been unfairly destroyed by public suspicion? Or is he a man who knows exactly what happened that night, and has so far been careful enough, or protected enough, to avoid being the one who answers for it? Is Tommaso Cioni a man being investigated for a crime, or a man being watched because of a secret? As of March 2026, Nancy Guthrie has still not been found. The case is open. No arrests have been made. The masked man in the footage remains unidentified. The DNA match has never been explained. The ransom wallet has never been touched. And the 3 words sent at 1:47 a.m., "Make it urgent," have never been traced to anyone who has faced consequences. Every thread in this case leads back to one place. Inside the house. Inside the family. Inside a circle of people with enough money, enough connections, and enough control over the narrative to keep the truth from reaching the safest. This was not a random kidnapping. This was a performance. And the stage was set by someone who knew exactly how the show would run. Now it is your turn. Was this a staged performance, planned from the beginning by people close to Nancy? Or was there a real crime underneath all the noise that investigators have still not been able to reach? And most importantly, where is Tommaso Cioni in all of this? Last man to see her. First name mentioned by investigators. Never charged. Never fully cleared. Drop your theory in the comments below. The FBI tip line is still open. 1-800-CALL-FBI. If you know anything, use it. Subscribe, because the next part goes even deeper. The crypto wallet that was never touched. The second DNA profile. And the one phone call from that night that nobody has explained yet. Trust me, it gets much stranger.